And a very happy Monday to you at 12:07 in the West. It's the John Phillips Show. Mr. Randy Wangs in Culver City.
John, several candidates for the 2026 governor's race had speeches at JPAC, the Jewish Public Affairs Committee of California, and Katie Porter thought, hey, why not start with a joke?
And so I think the first thing I want to tell you is that I have been a frequent guest at Rabbi Rick Steinberg, one of my local rabbis' Passover Seder, and he can attest to my really competitive instincts because I am a master at Jeopardy. I know all the plagues.
That is quite a humble brag.
Jeopardy?
It's like Jeopardy for Jewish history, I guess?
I am a master at Jeopardy. I know all the plagues.
Well, I can tell you this. At that Seder, if you're going to eat one of the potato pancakes, just make sure the potatoes don't have any of her ex-husband's hair in it.
Paul!
Could you imagine having her over for a Seder? Turn the Manischewitz into a sangria? 800-222-5222 is the telephone number, 1-800-222-5222. Randy, thank you so much for sitting in last week.
Did you win or did you lose?
I lost. It's hard to believe, isn't it? Because those casinos, as people say, are all built on winners. I did have a good time on the high seas for the last week, but I am happy to be home here in North Korea. And speaking of North Korea, Randy, we have a propaganda video that was just released that would make Kim Jong-un blush.
This seems to be a new series that is going on at the High Speed Rail Authority. You can subscribe to their YouTube channel. I do, for some reason. The California High Speed Rail Authority has a YouTube channel, and usually they just post their board meetings, which who knows what actually goes on down there. But starting last week, the California High Speed Rail Authority started shooting these propaganda videos showing where the California High Speed Rail Authority is buying booths at certain events to tell people about the awareness of the High Speed Rail Authority. And this time, they went to the LA Times Festival of Books.
Okay, here's the problem. You can't buy a ticket on the high-speed rail because it doesn't exist. You can sit at a card table at any event you want. That doesn't mean your project is a success.
That did not stop the High Speed Rail Authority from taking your tax dollars and cap and trade money, which means every time that you pay at the pump, to buy a booth at the LA Times Festival of Books, staff it with employees to harass people and ask them if they know about high-speed rail.
I wonder what kind of tchotchkes they hand out at those festivals. What do you think it is? Keychains?
With a little choo-choo on it?
Maybe pens? I don't know if they want to be super woke. Nipple rings?
Let's go ahead and listen to this absolutely real propaganda video produced by the California High Speed Rail Authority. Oh, the guy who edits definitely wants to be a DJ.
It's like from the 1980s, though.
And by the way, you know how every single time Gavin Newsom talks about the high-speed rail and people like Senator Cortese talk about the high-speed rail, they want you to be aware that it's a job creator, that they've created 15,000 jobs. These are some of these jobs.
Oh, yes. Producing propaganda.
Hundreds of people flocked to the University of Southern California for the Los Angeles Times Festival of Books.
Hello, how are you?
What is this voiceover?
It sounds like Pamela Price.
This, by the way, is another one of those jobs. Of the 15,000 jobs we've created, one of them is the voiceover lady for the propaganda videos.
With the amount of money that we spend on these propaganda videos, couldn't they afford, I don't know, Yardley Smith?
Hello, how are you?
More than 200 authors and poets showed up for book signings, readings, panels, and demonstrations.
Okay, what does that have to do with the High Speed Rail Authority, and why are they giving the LA Times your tax money for a booth?
Hey, how you getting back to Clovis, Shakespeare?
Have you guys heard of the high-speed rail before?
Is this real?
This is real. This is 100% real. And that right there is another one of those 15,000 jobs. A woman sitting in a booth passing out pamphlets asking if you've ever heard of the high-speed rail.
Well, the answer is this audience has, but no passengers have because no one can buy a ticket on the train.
We're almost at the point where there will I think we are at the point now where there will be freshmen in college that have gotten into places like USC, or they did one last week at SDSU, who were born after California passed the high-speed rail bill.
You know what this is like? This is like if you're one of those pathetic kids that had an imaginary friend and you tell everyone about your imaginary friend and everyone thinks you're the nut because you're referencing someone who's not there. This would be as if everyone in the state acknowledges the existence of the imaginary friend, and the one person who says there is no Susie, that's the black sheep. We're all supposed to pretend that this train exists and it's efficient and it's making us greener and it's a cheap way to go from LA to San Francisco. We all have to pretend.
Have you guys heard of the high-speed rail before?
Along the long line of exhibitors,
220 miles an hour.
It goes 0 miles an hour.
Zero, because there is no train.
There's not even a track right now. They're just starting 15 years later to lay down test track. They spent the last 15 years getting permits.
$220 miles an hour.
California.
What do you think we're paying her to pass out pamphlets and talk about how great this non-existent train is?
I don't know, but putting them next to Tony Little is a good place for him.
220 miles an hour.
How much do you think the LA Times got for this booth?
Well, it's the state government, so I'm sure they paid a king's ransom.
California High-Speed Rail Authority staff answered questions.
You got to have the guy who's operating the camera. You got to have PAs. There's probably a director. There might be 50 jobs out of that 15,000 jobs, all associated with this propaganda video at the LA Times Festival of Books.
Who is peppering them with questions about the train that doesn't exist at the Festival of Books?
California High-Speed Rail Authority staff answered questions about progress on the high-speed rail project.
Europe has had this figured out.
Some people lament the fact that the U.S. is far behind other countries with trains that travel at more than 200 miles an hour.
You mean California, right? You mean your agency that hasn't built this thing?
We can't do it now. Japan did it after they got bombed.
Japan finished their first high-speed rail in 1965. 60 years ago.
Curious about why it's not working so as well over here.
Between Merced and Bakersfield, we hope to carry our very first paying passengers, maybe yourselves.
Between Merced and Bakersfield.
Wait, listen to this guy with his pitch again to the random people that spent their Saturday at the LA Times Festival of Books.
Here.
Between Merced and Bakersfield, we hope to carry our very first paying passengers, maybe yourselves.
Maybe yourselves. Hey, would you be interested in a ticket that goes from a place you don't live to a place you don't live?
Wait. Go back to that clip. He said, from Merced to Bakersfield, we hope to have our first paying passengers.
Hope is a strong word there. And also, it doesn't go to Bakersfield. It goes to Wasco, which is about 15 miles outside of Bakersfield.
You notice he didn't give a date. We hope to have our first paying passengers by fall.
Here.
Between Merced and Bakersfield, we hope to carry our very first paying passengers, maybe yourselves.
We hope to have our first paying passengers, maybe yourselves.
How much is a ticket going to cost? They haven't told us that.
as I said before, whatever it is, you better figure it in bananas because apes will be controlling the world by the time this project is done.
Festival goers learned that California's high-speed rail test track is currently under construction in the Central Valley.
Maybe they just replayed this video from 10 years ago.
Oh, more DJ time.
They look forward to the future when
Wait, who looks forward to the future?
Not the people paying the bills.
But the people who went to the booth for High Speed Rail Authority at the LA Times Festival of Books, they look forward to the future.
Who is going to that book festival wanting to hear about the high-speed rail?
Well, and think about this. This is only the first time they've done a video about this. How many years has the High Speed Rail Authority bought a booth at just this festival? Because this festival happens every year.
I wonder if anyone harangues them about what kind of boondoggle this project is.
they look forward.
Well, if they do, that's not making the video.
Of course not.
They look forward to the future when high-speed trains connect to Southern California.
There is no date for that.
I can't believe we're paying everyone involved in this video. It makes me want to cheat on my taxes.
I guarantee you these people make more than your people that work in like actual production in Los Angeles.
Why can't Doge put them in the bread line too?
You could go to San Francisco. You can, like, if there's a conference at Stanford, you could go there. If you got
There is no train that's going to go to San Francisco. It's going to go to Merced.
Maybe that's why they picked the party music, because you have to drop LSD for any of this to make sense.
You could go to San Francisco. You can, like, if there's a conference at Stanford, you could go there. If you got an internship in Silicon Valley, you could go there. People from Stanford could go to, like, all the aerospace companies here in LA.
We are paying people to straight up lie on camera about how efficient this non-existent train is going to be.
What do you think, realistically, this propaganda video cost us?
I would imagine at least $200,000 to $300,000 for a 2-minute video that is only on their YouTube channel.
It's definitely six figures.
It's definitely a no-brainer.
Oh, yeah, we'll be on it.
Even
We're right on top of it.
By the way, just to give you a visual, this guy,
Brainer.
Oh, yeah, we'll be on it.
he's talking about this while he has a parrot on his shoulder, because that's the kind of people that go to the LA Times Festival of Books. Bird people.
Who is he, a Dom DeLuise impersonator?
Oh, yeah, we'll be on it.
even TJ promises once it's built, he and Pepe the Parrot will ride.
Well, if he and Pepe the Parrot are on that train, John won't be.
Newsflash, and I hate to say this, Pepe's going to be long dead.
Oh, are you kidding? By the time this train is finished, Pepe's going to be taxidermied and performing in the Tiki Room.
Even TJ promises once it's built, he and Pepe the Parrot will ride.
I don't think so.
Nope.
Oh, we got to try it. We've already been in Metro. We've already in the light train. And, you know, we're just waiting to see how fast we can go with him on a train.
Well, if he's riding the Metro, he's definitely not going to live long enough to ride the bullet train.
Wait, you can bring a parrot on the Metro?
You can bring a sword on the Metro.
I do hope that once this finally takes off, once it's finally done and we start using it, that hopefully the rest of the country follows suit and also gets on board.
I think they're watching this video over at the Church of Scientology, and they're saying, can you believe this propaganda?
For more information on the California High-Speed Rail Project, visit buildhsr.com and hsr.ca.gov.
If you were ever curious as to where all the money is going for California's non-existent high-speed rail project, there's a big chunk of it to produce that.
That video, and few things shock me. The fact that they were willing to put that video out and put their name on it shocks the living hell out of me.
If we have a dead day, I'll play you the one from last week, too. It's good stuff.
Wait, so they're putting out new installments on a weekly basis?
Yeah, the first one, I played it on Friday, and it's when they went to SDSU.
Okay, this is costing us 7 figures then.
Who knows where they're going next? Maybe they go to UCSF.
If you'd like to email the show, you can do so at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. That's johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. And Randy, if you want to go back and listen to one of the episodes from last week when you were hosting solo, that's easy to do.
All you got to do is search for The John Phillips Show wherever you get your podcasts. You get the Apple Podcasts app, the iHeart, Spotify. Search for The John Phillips Show. Hit subscribe. You can download all the episodes and hear all the drops we collected last week that I can't wait to play for Johnny, like Christina Gonzalez asking a question more honestly than you'd ever imagine.
Do you feel safe driving Metro?
Let's go to Jim in Rodeo. Jim, hello.
Yeah, how you doing?
Good.
The first thing I want to tell you that Steve Hilton, is he going to be on this tomorrow on your station before I ask the question?
You're asking me a question that I can't answer until I look at the calendar, but I do believe he's booked on tomorrow's show.
Okay, and the other thing I was thinking with this rail system, they forgot that climate change was supposed to be something that was going to destroy this planet 20 years ago, and then they made changes on that. So how come these lunatics keep thinking that what these people say in California really mean anything? The only thing I found out with climate change is the fact that my wallet has changed. I have just change left.
It's a little less green?
Huh?
There's a little less green?
You dare? Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Well, I'll tell you this. They may not know how to build a train efficiently, but they sure managed to figure out a way to make it so that a state with no train, all of us in a state with no train, all of us still had to take it in the caboose. Explain that one to me. But first, whenever gas prices in the state of California go up, there's always one station in Los Angeles, I think it's on Fairfax, that the reporters all do their live shots from, because at that particular gas station, for whatever reason, they're way more expensive than everyone else.
I always think that when you see that, it's because the place is a front for the mob and they don't want anyone to actually go there.
At some point, we need to get to the bottom of why it is that they're way more expensive than everyone else in L.A.
And, of course, in Northern California, we know what they like to do. They bring the camera crew out to that one gas station in Gorda.
I still can't figure out why they named the town Gorda. Because if my high school Spanish doesn't fail me, Gorda means fat woman. Am I right?
I believe you are correct.
We have a lot of bilingual people in this audience. If I'm wrong, let us know at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. But I do believe Gorda means fat woman. What did the founder of that town, what was he thinking when he showed up to that specific city and said, I think we should incorporate, and this town reminds me of a fat woman?
You know, if you just Wikipedia Gorda, California, the first line says Gorda, parentheses, Spanish for fat, is a hamlet in Monterey County, California.
But A at the end, that means feminine, right?
Yes. If it was Gordo,
would be, yeah, that's fat masculine. That's why they want to call them Latinx, because everything is male and female, and that leaves out the non-binaries.
If you look at the etymology, Gorda is derived from the Spanish word for fat or well-fed.
Well, maybe there was a fat woman who was living there when they founded the town.
Gorda is occasionally mentioned as having the highest gasoline prices in the United States.
But let's just say you were trying to honor this woman because she was, I don't know, a civic leader in town. Wouldn't you name it, I don't know, Jane? The town of Jane, instead of Gorda? I don't know. It just seems kind of insulting to me. Somewhat inappropriate. I digress. We know that gasoline is expensive in California, particularly when you compare it to other states. And, Randy, it could be getting a lot more expensive.
This is all due to a new study from a professor at USC who looked at the fact that the Phillips 66 refinery is closing this year. The Benicia refinery is closing next year. And with a lack of supply of gasoline, prices could end up as high as $8 a gallon by the end of next year.
Which means we're all staying at home.
For more, here is Fox 5 in San Diego.
A new report is warning that gas prices here locally and across California may rise up to 75% by next year as refinery capacity is shrinking. Our Jennifer Franco is joining us live tonight in Kearney Mesa and has a closer look at this study. And Jennifer, this is already drawing some sharp reactions.
Hey, Sarah. Yeah, that's right. You know, right now, the average price for a gallon of regular gas here in San Diego County currently stands at $4.79. That's about nearly $2 more than the national average. But in the months to come, everyone in California could be paying much more to fill up.
And I don't think the rest of the nation will have that same trend.
No. And you know that Newsom is going to blame it on Trump. He's going to say it's all about the tariffs and all about what's going on globally. Well, if what's going on globally is causing the cost of gasoline to spike, then wouldn't it be spiking in Arizona too?
With warmer months ahead, we can expect something besides just temperatures to go up.
Historically, we always pay a little bit more for gas during the summer because of the high demand and because of that summer blend gasoline.
You know, it's one thing I just will not understand. And maybe it is just the population of the state, but we have these special blends of gasoline, the summer blend, the winter blend. We cannot import gasoline from the 49 other states, yet the air quality in Southern California is still the worst in the nation.
Yeah, no kidding. We're like Starbucks with the Christmas blend. Only for summer, we have the special summer blend for gasoline here.
And Jane Vanegas with AAA says price shifts are also often influenced anytime there are fears about supply. A new report by Michael Mache at USC's Marshall School of Business warns fuel prices could top $8 by the end of next year. San Diego area drivers are dreading what might be coming at the pump.
And now it's time for a mainstay of local television, interviewing randos at the gas station.
I wonder if they interviewed any of the homeless people that are panhandling there, too.
I'm probably going to drive a lot less if I'm having to pay that much for gas. It's concerning. You know, we already pay more than every other state.
It would be less travel. You would have to make different plans and things like that. So,
by the way, if Gavin Newsom hears all of these people saying, I'm going to drive less, that might be exactly what he wants you to do.
Yes, but that means they're not driving to the restaurants. They're not driving to the malls. They're not driving to the movie theaters. Maybe he wants everyone to stay at home because they can't afford to go out, so they just sit around and listen to his podcasts.
And then, of course, if you're not going out and you're not using gasoline, that's no gas tax money and can't have that.
And so it would definitely be more of a hardship.
The report cites the scheduled closures of the Phillips 66 refinery in Los Angeles this October and Valero's Benicia refinery next April.
That one had a fire last week, so gas is way expensive in the Bay right now.
Great.
And
if one refinery goes down, gas is 50 cents higher just comparing San Francisco to Los Angeles because of one refinery fire. And so now if we're going to have two less, that means that those spikes are going to go even higher. And this is after two of Gavin's special sessions that were supposed to address those issues.
Well, okay, so just take two of them offline permanently because they moved. You know the remaining ones are still going to experience fires or they're going to be down for maintenance or whatever. And when that happens, then you're going to be down to what, 4?
And Gavin keeps encouraging some of them to convert to corn oil, which you cannot use at 100% in gasoline. So what are we doing with all the corn?
Convert to corn oil? What, does he own property in Iowa?
And Valero's Benicia refinery next April. It says when that happens, it could mean a potential 21% reduction in the state's refining capacity over 3 years. Some lawmakers are waving the red flag.
We are in a current financial crisis, and we're on the precipice of a financial disaster if the governor doesn't get his arms wrapped around this problem and get it fixed.
Well, $8 a gallon by the end of 2026 won't be his problem.
No, but if gas is $8 a gallon in California and it's $2 a gallon in Texas, what do you think the odds are he gets elected president?
Is there a number lower than 0?
State Senate Minority Leader Brian Jones sent a letter to Governor Gavin Newsom urging him to, quote, find immediate solutions and prevent further closures. Governor Newsom has disputed the study's findings. Taking to X, his press office shared a letter he sent to the California Energy Commission directing it to, quote, redouble efforts to work with refiners to ensure a safe, affordable, and reliable supply of gasoline.
That doesn't mean anything. The refineries are closing. They already gave you the end date.
Yeah, and you've spent all of your time trying to drive them out of the state. So now, at the very last minute, you're going to try to keep them here?
Every September, 3 years in a row now, Gavin Newsom has to get as much attention as possible because he says big oil is out to screw you.
I'm sick and tired of being screwed.
And he's held 2 special sessions about this, passed legislation. Yet nothing ever seems to have changed from any of that, except more and more oil refineries are getting out of the state.
Yeah, good luck trying to sweet talk them into staying here.
As they keep tabs, some experts are waiting for clarity with the rest of us.
It's really hard to know for sure what could happen in the near future.
And the study also suggests ways that lawmakers can lower gas prices. That includes things like revoking a plan to ban the sale of new gas-powered cars by 2035.
Oh, Gavin's not going to do that. I mean, the feds might take that plan away from him.
The feds will, or whoever the next governor will.
And easing restrictions on
Is she doing this from a runway?
She might be.
And easing restrictions on in-state petroleum production. That's the very latest from here in Kearney Mesa. I'm Jennifer Franco, Fox 5 News.
Now, speaking of the next governor, Johnny, you find this interesting because one candidate for governor in 2026 already shot the obligatory "I'm standing at the gas pump" video to warn people about this. But it's not a candidate that you would think. Tony V, take it away.
Gas prices are too high in this state. And one of the reasons why they're so high is that we have closed refineries. If 2 more refineries close in this state, we're going to be looking at gas prices as high as $8 a gallon. These policies are absurd. We got to do something about it.
Well, if he's making that video outside of a gas station in Oakland, I hope someone's watching his back.
Now, of course, John, this is the same exact Antonio Villaraigosa that when he was mayor of Los Angeles at a press conference going after legislation that was going to defend the oil companies from some of California's policies, famously said the oil companies, including Valero, should go back to Texas.
Well, it looks like Antonio Villaraigosa finally found one person in the state who's listening to him. The big story today is that the stock market went absolute bananas.
We are just a few minutes away from the stock market closing, and it looks like the Dow's going to end up 1,000 points up, the NASDAQ up 720 points, the S&P up 168 points, unless something happens in the next 5 minutes.
I'm still on East Coast time, so I woke up at 3:30 in the morning and could not go back to bed. And I've got to tell you, it was like Christmas morning waiting for 6:30 to hit, because that's when the markets open on the East Coast. And as soon as everything opened, I just started clicking refresh on my portfolio like it was a morphine button. Just click, 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 over and over and over and over and over again.
Almost makes up for all the money you lost on the cruise ship.
Yeah, no kidding. As it turns out, investing is better than blackjack. I know that may sound hard to believe, and it also happens to be better than the Buffalo machine, which is a money sink.
Now, of course, the reason it's ending up so high today is reaction that it looks like a deal has been made over tariff talks between the U.S. and China.
And then before that, there was a deal cut between the United States and the United Kingdom, And the feeling among investors is that if the UK, which is our closest ally, and China, which is probably our biggest adversary, are willing to come to the table and cut a deal with us on trade and tariffs and everything associated with that, then everyone else will fall in line too. And if everyone else falls in line too, that means we're going to have deals all over the place.
What do you think we import from the UK besides tea?
That's hard to say.
Maybe Cadbury cream eggs?
I think they make those in New Zealand. When I went down there before, there was a hospital that looked like the factory from Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. And when we were taking the tour, they said, oh, yeah, this used to be a Cadbury factory. Lots of dairy down there in New Zealand. But we have deals cut with those two. And if you talk to people who are very closely following international trade, they seem to be optimistic about where we're headed, that we could end up, after all of this, with some sort of rules-based international free trade, in which case the markets could really explode. And the question becomes, is this some kind of sugar high that we're experiencing today because of these deals, and then tomorrow everything goes back to normal? Or are we going to see the stock market move up and up and up as we get deeper into the week and deeper into the month and deeper into the year? That obviously remains to be seen, but you want to see euphoria today, turn your television on CNBC or Fox Business, because those guys are really having a ball today, as is anyone who has money in the stock market. Are any stocks actually not doing well today?
Verizon is down, but, that could just be because the cell phones don't work.
Always a possibility.